Always so abrupt. What's going on, fellas? Welcome everybody to the Reload
Up
Show. I gotta be honest, I lost track. I think we're on episode number 37.
37 and counting. Yes.
I love it. I love it. So I am Candido Diaz. Alongside with me today, we have Sean Richard and Mark Sullivan. Fellas, how's it going?
What up? What up? It's going right. Another week, another reload show.
Yeah, you guys missed me last week. I could tell.
You know what? We streamed to your audience, so your wife was watching, so that's solid.
Hey, big fan of the show.
It was good, man. This week's been good. I've been reinvigorated, remotivated. Not that I was out of motivation, but I just got an extra kick of motivation over the past week. So it's been solid.
Good. So you know what? Why don't we get right to it? Wins and losses for the week. Mark, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Mine's gonna be very generic, but honestly, one of my wins is definitely received 2 referrals this week, and it was each one from a different referral partner. Both of these referral partners have been silent for quite a while. And having conversations with both of them, I say, hey, it's been a while, yada, 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 ask the whys, how's business, what's going on, how are the kids, yada, yada, yada. They're like, hey, we haven't been cheating on you. It's just we haven't had a lot of business. And both of them said almost the exact same thing. That made me feel good. And I'm glad to see some referrals coming from them. And honestly, whenever stuff like that starts to happen, it starts to give me the warm and fuzzies that there may be something turning around, right? When people that were slow for a long time all of a sudden start getting some business, that may bode well for the overall market. Another win is I have some ads up. I know I've been calling for that for a while, but some things eased in my personal life. I decided to wait until that was done to put some ads up. I've got those ads ordered. We'll see if Facebook lets them through or not. And then as far as loss, just the slowest molasses pipeline right now. Got some people out there pre-approved, but just not getting deals. But I know that'll turn around.
All right. Well, hey, definitely keep us in the loop with how those ads go. Want to hear more about that as it progresses.
For sure.
So, Sean, wins, losses of the week. Your hairdo, I'm like 50-50 on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to see what it felt like to have as little hair as you, Candido. So I shaved a bunch of it off.
Can you
that real high fade going on? It's it looks better. It looks better in person. How about that? Oh man. Yeah. So win this week. Yeah, my hairstyle. But I would say that this week has been, again, the remotivation. I've been making a lot of contacts this week. It's been really good. Yesterday in particular, made a ton of calls yesterday. Got a hold of some of my awesome partners. What's really cool is I was really able to bring some awesome value to them yesterday. I got a super sweet hookup on some discounted real estate seminar tickets. And so I reached out to some of my key partners and relationships and was able to pass that discount along to them. So I was really able to put them in a position to win and grow their mindset, their business. So that was really cool. I would say a loss this past week is I lost a deal to a past relationship. So I had a client that was talking to me, talking to their bank. And we ended up basically at pretty much the same numbers. And at the end of the day, they really liked me, but they're like, you know what? This bank gives me other favors in other ways for my businesses. And that relationship, I'm just going to go ahead and just leverage that relationship. So that was unfortunate, but I wished him well. I congratulated him on the new house. And I told him, hey, like, let's do some business with some other properties down the road. So just try to keep the positive mindset about that. On to the next one. But that was my my shitty moment of the week. There we go. So that's what I got, man.
So I couldn't put my finger on it, and I just need to bring it back to Sean's hair for 2 seconds. I just took my son. 3 years ago to see Despicable Me 4, and if anybody's seen Despicable Me 4, Sean looks very strikingly like the villain Maxime Le Lamar, I think was his name. And
makes sense.
And so I know everybody watching out there couldn't put their finger on it either. So I thought I'd help out. That way everybody could focus on the show and we can take our focus off of.
You've uncovered my inspiration, Mark.
I need you to make me look like the French guy from Despicable Me 4, is what Sean said.
That was the conversation exactly. I was going to wear a big puffy coat today, but I decided not to. So it's hot here in Texas, so I elected not to. It's okay.
My goodness, you guys couldn't say spoiler alert? I haven't seen it yet. Jeez.
We didn't spoil anything. We just said that
there's if my hair spoils it for you, then I fear for your movie going future.
Well, we'll see about that. So wins and losses for the week. So I'm going to start with my loss, as I always do. And I have to admit, I came back from vacation middle of the week last week. That was probably the first mistake right there. But, me, Captain Positivity, and I'm known for bringing the energy. Last Thursday, I apologize to you guys. I didn't have it. I was absolutely still in vacation mode when I showed up for our accountability call. So I beg for your forgiveness.
You were on a partial mortgage instead of total mortgage. It's okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So wins for the week, it was kind of slow. And I feel like anytime you put that in the universe and you decide to take a few days off to go on vacation, that's exactly when it starts to pick up. And luckily for me, got some applications in, and that's exactly what happened. So it never fails. Anytime you try to take a few days off or try to go on vacation, that's when you always get busy. So that's definitely my win for the week. And I'm excited to hopefully keep that momentum rolling.
Mark always gets busy, so it's all good. Guys, just rock and rolling nonstop. Man, Candido, you want to share the big news of what we're talking about today?
Yes, I'm excited because I'm excited too, but I don't look like a villain. I'm excited for this week's topic. We are talking about the tracking your daily activities, prospect mastery. So, fellas, why don't we just jump right into it? Who wants to kick us off?
Yeah, we named this episode "Dominating Your Day" because ultimately I believe we've got to have an intense focus on exactly what we're doing every day. And we're not necessarily controlling every minute of the day, but controlling the core actions and the activities that we're doing on a daily basis. So like for me personally, like I've got this fun thing here that I fill out every single day. I'm tracking key critical activities. Because we can't change what we don't track. So if I want to change the number of applications that I generate, I need to track it. If I want to change how many clients I've got coming in the door, I need to track it. If I want to change my results, my production, my number of units, my volume, I've got to track everything that leads to that. And so I've really been hampering down on tracking, especially over the last several months, to really hone in on how I can improve. So kind of that's my thoughts. Mark, Candido, what are you guys thinking? All right.
Not everybody at once. I'm always like, you know what? I'm just going to pause a second because me and Candido always talk at the same time.
Always.
And
so apparently I'm the only one thinking. Like, what are you guys thinking?
Only one thinking about that.
Okay.
So I'll take this one, Mark, to start. Yeah, it's extremely important because look, we've kind of said this in the past. It's all about controlling what you can control, right? So the market might be up, the market might be down, rates might be up, rates might be down, but you could control what you could control. So you control how many meetings you have in a given week, how many calls you make in a given day. Or how you start your day. I know for me, I'm huge. I talk about it all the time. Mindset is just absolutely, I think, the most important thing. And getting my day started the same way every single day just leads into some positive momentum. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, along the same topics, you can't change what you don't track, right? And you can track literally everything. And if I look back on my career, times that I'm doing well and times that I'm not doing well, I really can dial that in and see, was I tracking what I was doing, or was I just flying by the seat of my pants? Even people that say, hey, I operate solely off of referral business. Looking at you, real estate agents, loan officers are guilty of it too, though. But like, even if you say I operate solely off of referral business, if you just sit in your chair all day and you don't do anything, you're not going to get those referrals, right? You're not going to be top of mind for people because you're not communicating with them. You're not going to, you're just not going to get those referrals. People are going to not be thinking of you when they have that opportunity to give them out. So even your conversations with your sphere of influence can be tracked, and you can say, okay, well, if I rely on my sphere of influence to give me my referrals and give me my business, well, then I also know that 10% of everybody that I know is going to move in the next 12 months, just on average. But everybody that my friend John knows and everybody that my friend Nikki knows, 10% of everybody that they know is also going to move in the next 12 months. So knowing those stats, I know how many people on average I need to communicate with in order to get a referral when those people's 10% notify them that they're going to be moving or they're thinking about moving. And we're looking at those people's closest friends. All of those things are trackable. So even if you operate purely off of referral business, you get more referrals if you track what you're doing and you know the phone calls that you're making, and you know that, hey, this is my sphere of influence and this is how many times I've reached out to them in the last 6 months.
Great points, Mark. And, and I think we've all heard the phrase also, inspect what you expect. And I kind of relate that back to tracking as well, because, inspect. So if I expect my conversations with clients or my conversations with real estate partners to result in business and referrals, then I need to inspect how I'm having those conversations. Well, I can't really do that if I'm not tracking, right? And so it's not even about just tracking, how many calls I made, how many text messages I made, how many events I went to. I think it's also, dialing it even further in or diving further in and inspecting, okay, well, I'm making calls every week and this is the conversation I'm having, and tracking, is that conversation effective? And okay, do I need to change my wording? Am I getting the results from the way I'm having that conversation? So even going further and tracking the micro nuances of the activities that you're doing, not just the big bullet point activities, but I think the micro nuance as well. So talking about, tracking the activities, the big bullet points, guys, what are some of the big rock items that the two of you would agree that are critical to track on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, not only for loan officers, but for real estate agents as well?
Yeah, I mean, just the things that you track is what you're asking. I would say 100% would be conversations that are being had, and not only conversations, but having key points in those conversations. Or else we've talked about this a few times on past episodes, but if you don't track what you're talking about in those conversations, then you fall guilty or you fall victim to just having a conversation and calling it a day, which is better than no conversation, but it's not an effective one. So whenever you have the conversation, are you asking for business, right? Is it a referral partner? Are you asking about their business, asking what you can do to help them grow their business, or what you can do to help their business in slow times. If it's just a sphere of influence call and it's just a friend or an acquaintance, asking them about their business or asking them about their personal life. And those are all check marks. Those are all feel good check marks that you're hitting in those conversations to make them as effective as possible. And then when you're ending the call, hey, either it's a direct ask for business or it's just a reminder of what it is that you do, whether you're a loan officer, a real estate agent, yada, yada. You don't have to come right out and say, oh yeah, FYI, the reason I called you is because I want you to send me business. But you could ask them about their business, and then whatever they say, then you can kind of relate that to yours and call it. But during that call, you have to remind them about what you're doing or what you do. If it's a sphere of influence call, if it's a referral partner, you have to just straight out ask for business.
So Mark, are you're essentially saying go into these, like, have intentional conversations, right? Not just win-win conversation. I'm going to call this person for the sake of calling them.
Absolutely.
Have intentional conversation.
And have that written down so you can track it. There's bullet points. You don't have to go off of a script, right? You don't have to, my name is Mark, and but act all robotic with a script but you should have bullet points. And at some point during the conversation, try to hit on as many of those bullet points as possible. And if you're able to do that, you're going to have more effective conversations. And it probably won't turn into, yes, I have a referral for you right now, but you're top of mind so that whenever their friend Sally talks about, I'm thinking about buying a house, they're like, oh, I just talked to my friend Mark yesterday, and he is, or ideally, if you can train them to do this, but ideally they say my loan officer Mark instead of my friend Mark. My loan officer Mark, I just talked to him yesterday. You should give him a call. I think he's really awesome.
So conversations critical to track. Candido, what you got?
Yeah, Mark, I love that. And I would say, especially at the beginning when you're first kind of starting out, or if this is something that you're just starting to implement, bullet points are huge, right? Mark, that's a fantastic point because, it at least gives you a place to start, right? And from there, I would say, yes, conversations are great. But what are you doing to be able to create more conversations, right? How many events are you attending? How many meetings on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? And same thing with networking events. So, all three of those can kind of be combined in one, depending on what type of event. Like, I have BNI every week. Well, that's an event, that's a meeting, that's a networking opportunity. So, all three of those things can kind of mesh together. But that's just another thing that you should be able to track on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And obviously, the more people that you're getting in front of, the more conversations that you're creating and more opportunities to eventually not only get and receive more business, but to also go ahead and give referrals, right? The art of reciprocity. I think I said it right. It's something that's alive and well. If you want to go ahead and get leads, you want to try and make sure that you give them as well.
Yeah, I'd like the just on the topic of things you can track and talking about referral groups. I know we're all in one. All three of us are in one, so it's something we can relate to. But you have your two different types of people, right? You have your person that shows up. We have a meeting every Tuesday at 9 a.m., right? Shows up to the meeting, talks about themselves constantly, pitches themselves constantly, doesn't have any real conversation. And then 5 months into it goes, this group sucks, right? And I'm not getting anything out of this group, right? But you have your other person who goes into the group and intentionally has conversations, whether they want to have them or not, intentionally has conversations with everybody in the group, tries to get to know everybody in the group a little bit better. And each week when they show up, people are happier to see the second guy, right? And they're not as, and they're whatever about the first guy. And the first guy is going to sit there and complain that, oh, they just like him better, right? Well, it doesn't work like that, right? It's was it? I think it was Thomas Jefferson says, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? So it's just like, if that second person is going in there and he knows exactly how to get the most out of that networking group, and it's not talking about himself. That second person is going in there and he's checking off trackable metrics that he goes into that meeting and looks for. And that trackable metric is, I talked to every single person and asked them how their family life was and how their business was. Every single person that I talked to in that referral group, we had that conversation. So that's definitely something that's trackable, on topic, when you're talking about referral groups and stuff like that, and turning them into your sphere of influence.
Yeah, Mark, I love that point. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, Mark kind of grazed across something that I kind of want to address, and I wasn't planning on bringing this up, but this is a really, really good topic, subtopic, really. So tracking is not just about checking a box, right? Like Mark, you just talked about, checking boxes, like, and so not in a bad way. You want to be able to check, okay, I did what I set out to do. But when it comes to tracking, a lot of times, people in our industry, they're like, oh, I just want to get it done, right? I just want to do it to say that I did it instead of doing it with intention. And so it's like, oh, I want to make, 50 calls today. And so you make 50 calls. Cool. Check the box. I made 50 calls, and there was no substance in those 50 calls, right? The voicemails that you left, right? We all know if we make 50 calls, we're probably getting a hold of 2, 3, 5, 6 people, maybe 10. The voicemails that you left weren't value adds. The conversations that you had were just casual conversations with no intention. So you were just checking the box. So when it comes to tracking, the intentionality is so important, because it's easy to just check the box. Oh, I said I was going to do this, and I did it. Cool. Check the box and move on. But if you want results from those activities, it's more than just saying, oh, well, I did this. Now, getting it done in general, I guess, is better than not doing it, right? Going to a networking event is better than not. But if you want to maximize the opportunity for it to impact your business, being able to go in with intentionality. And then the other piece I was going to add was, for as far as tracking metrics, I've been doing a lot of tracking with social media lately. So not only content that I post, but engagements with other people's content. I think that's super, super critical. I've found that when I engage with other people's content more frequently, more people go back and look at my content, right? People see the engagement that I've done and they go, oh, who's this guy commenting on this? And maybe they go check out my profile, and I've got my profile dialed in. So maybe they go, oh, wow, this, seems interesting. Let me check out some of his content. And so tracking the number of engagements that I'm doing on other people's content, in addition to tracking the content that I'm actively posting, has been something that I've been doing very recently that's been having some traction with my social media aspect of my business.
Yeah. And, that's exactly what it's all about. Both you guys brought up great points. Look, showing up, whether it's on social media, at networking events, whatever, showing up is half the battle. But it can't just be, hey, you know what? My crappy content is better than your no content. Okay, that can only take you so far. You have to make sure that, okay, after what, you have to actually start creating good content and tracking. Okay, this is who's paying attention to each one. Engagement, same thing. If you're showing up at BNI every week and you're not bringing positivity, energy, you have to also figure out what you're adding, what you're bringing. Because if you're showing up and that's the only thing you're doing, then that really, you can just check off a box, but how much of an impact are you really having?
So guys, let's kind of start to wind down, but I've got a big question. I think this is a really important question. I want the two of you to answer, and I'll chime in as well afterwards. So, okay, starting a new activity, and I'm, whatever the activity is, I'm starting a new activity and I want to figure out if this activity is impacting my business, this is working. How long should I give a new activity before I say, oh, I need to change this. I need to ditch this. It's not working. How long might that be in your opinion?
An hour?
I called people for an hour and it wasn't working. This is horrible. Yeah.
I really think it depends on the activity, and it depends on a lot of things. It depends on is money going into it? What's the expectations? Depending on what it is that you're doing, it could be a week or it could be a year. So that's kind of hard to gauge. If it's consistent actions, you're looking at 90 days to 6 months to see some kind of real change in what you're doing. If you're talking about phone calls and things like that, you're talking about 6 months, probably 90 days minimum.
Yeah. That was my take. So my take on that is 6 months, and with the caveat of 6 months minimum, but with a review at 90 days, right? Review it at the quarter, and then minimum of 6 months to determine effectiveness. Whether it's, I need to change this for the next 6 months, I need to get rid of it and implement something new, things like that. So that was kind of my take on it, is 6 months with a 90-day review period. Like, hey, I'm halfway through. How's it working? Do I need to tweak something for the next 90 days? Things like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you brought up a great point, Sean. Look, tracking is fantastic, but you also have to review, right? You want to take a look at the numbers, take a look at the metrics, and see how you can constantly improve. So, I would say the same thing, guys. And look, hey, our shows lasted longer than 6 months, so I think we're still doing all right.
Well, yeah, and we're constantly reviewing to make sure that we're not getting canceled on a week by week basis. So we're doing good there. It's fantastic. Guys, any last notes on the topic? I think this was great. I think tracking is critical to success in this industry. Any last notes that either of you want to give the audience today?
Well, I think the overall topic for me is just make sure that when you have a plan, make sure you're executing your plan. And the way you execute your plan is to set up metrics along the way and make sure you're hitting those metrics. And make sure you're doing the things that are necessary to make the plan work. And then to round it off, don't give up on it so early. So many people start to do something, and then a week or 2 weeks into it, they just give up on it. They say they didn't work. But if somebody was there holding them accountable, that person would immediately say, how much time did you give it? And did you really follow the plan, or did you just wing it? Right. And there's so many different ways to unpack that. But I'd say 90% of all the new actions that are taken just fall flat. They're given up on too early. They're not executed properly, and they're executed without a plan. And when you put all of that stuff together, and you give that stuff time to actually work, 90 days to 6 months, depending on what you're doing, you're going to see real progress. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, just as long as you're doing something.
And I'll end with this. The number one thing that successful people do that unsuccessful people don't do is be consistent. That's the number one thing. It's whatever you're doing, find something that works, and then be unwaveringly consistent at it.
Sounds good.
Hey, just like you guys, look, cheat code is having somebody or a group hold you accountable. So appreciate you guys. Thank you for showing up every week, holding myself accountable and each other accountable. So I am Candido Diaz with Sean Richard and Mark Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in to the Reload Show. Make sure you check us out next week, next Tuesday, same time, same place. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much. Take care.